Hi everyone, thank you very much for joining us today for our webinar, How to Design a Successful Intranet. On behalf of the LCOM team, we're really excited to be having this exciting conversation and discussion with you today. Thank you very much for joining us. Just before we begin, I just want to test the audio. So for those on the call, if you can go to your GoToWebinar panel and just click the little hands up icon just to confirm that you can hear me okay, that would be fantastic. Sure, stick your hand up. Fantastic, awesome. Perfect. Well, thank you again, everyone, for joining us. We're really excited to be here today having this exciting conversation with you. On behalf of the LCOM team, welcome to our webinar, How to Design a Successful Intranet. We have a really exciting, jam-packed webinar and agenda today. Just as a quick introduction, my name is Josh Anstey. I'm the Customer Solutions Director at LCOM and joined by Siv Rao, our Marketing Manager here at LCOM. Thank you, Siv, for joining us today.
Hi guys, pleasure to be here.
Before we do jump into the webinar, we've got a huge number of attendees today. Some people may be familiar with LCOM, some may not be familiar with LCOM, so I just want to give you a very quick introduction to LCOM, who we are. LCOM is a digital employee experience platform that makes it very easy for you to improve your internal communication, employee engagement, collaboration, and efficiency. The LCOM Digital Employee Experience Platform enables you to deliver an engaging intranet that is quick to deploy and easy to manage. And LCOM can also be deployed for other web solutions, such as websites, forms and workflow portals, collaboration, learning management, induction, onboarding, and mobile solutions. So that's a quick introduction to LCOM for those that may not be familiar with us, and those that are, it's a quick refresher. Just a little bit of housekeeping. There is the GoToWebinar panel. So during the webinar, if you have any questions, please jump in there, type those questions. At the end, we have a Q&A session, and we'll do our best to answer as many questions as possible. If we aren't able to get to your question, we'll make sure we get in touch with you individually afterwards. So this is a quick overview of our agenda here. It's really exciting. We're going to be starting off by looking at best practice tips for intranet design. We're then going to jump in and look at the must-have features of a great intranet and how to tailor your intranet to each employee's needs. We'll then cover a really interesting topic around where you need to start to get it right. And we're going to look at a case study of an award-winning example to inspire your intranet design, and we're going to wrap up with some Q&A there. So a really exciting, jam-packed agenda, and we're really excited to have this discussion today. So we'd love to start and kick this off actually with a poll. So we've got a poll that should be popping up on everyone's screen there. And the question is, when are you looking to redesign or introduce a new intranet? And there's a few different answers there. So please jump in there and vote and answer that. The first option there is yesterday, and we put that one there for those people that have been thinking about doing it, trying to do it for ages, wishing they started sooner, promised they would deliver it, but haven't had a chance to get to it. So that's why we've got yesterday as one of those options. Then we've got 1 to 6 months, 6 to 12 months, just making small ongoing changes or not looking to redesign your intranet. So those are the different options there. Everyone, please jump in and vote. We'll let everyone vote for about another 30 seconds. So watching those votes coming in fast and furious, which is very exciting. About 10 more seconds. So if you haven't yet voted, please jump in there to the GoToWebinar panel and vote. Question, when are you looking to redesign or introduce a new intranet? Yesterday, 1 to 6 months, 6 to 12 months, just making small ongoing changes, or not looking to redesign our intranet. All right, last 5 seconds, and then we're going to close off this poll. All right, brilliant. So some really interesting statistics there, and yeah, thanks so much everyone for voting on that. It's always interesting to get an idea of where everyone's at of their journey, and from looking at those results, looks like most people are falling into the yesterday or the 1 to 6 months bucket. So that's really good to see as well. I'm going to hand over to Siv now to talk about best practice tips for intranet design. Siv, over to you.
Thanks, Josh. So what makes a good intranet design? At its essence, the user should be at the heart of any design process. And the first part of a great intranet design process lays in the discovery phase. And what's great is, we often hear about organizations interviewing their staff to discover what they want and what they need, but then they go straight into putting together a broad requirements list, and that's the end of the discovery phase. But there's so much more you could be doing. My first tip is to look at the experience your key audience goes through and build a story or a narrative around this. Why would you do this? First, it shifts your mindset from focusing on specific features such as a button or a tool that your intranet needs towards deeper insights about the problem that the user needs to solve. Secondly, and this is very important, it helps you get buy-in from stakeholders, especially the C-suite, when they have examples of how it helps the company's employees. There are a lot of ways to do this, but I'll touch on three today. First, personas, then problem statements, and finally, journey maps. So what's a persona? In this scenario, personas are fictional characters or character types that represent a group of users that might use your intranet in a similar way. Personas will help you find the answers to questions like, well, what do they want to achieve by using the intranet? How do we structure the information, to best meet their needs? In this example, I have a persona named Peter Smith, and you can see his character traits, goals and motivations, pain points, wish lists, requirements, and the tools and features that he'll need from the internet. And really, it's just a comprehensive overview of who he is. I'd recommend you get started by creating 3 to 5 personas and then kind of use that to reference and drive your internet design so you never lose track of who the internet is intended for. Once you know who your audience is, it's helpful to identify and define the problem that needs to be solved. And this is known as problem statements, which looks at, who a particular user is, the user's need, and why the need is important to the user. And this provides a really good anchor point to refer back to when going through the design process to make sure you're addressing the problem. So in this example, when the team look at designing the training capabilities for Angela, who's a nurse in an aged care home, they can start by asking what the larger problem at hand is and refer back to this problem statement. For instance, what do users need in order to run training effectively or to attend training, such as promoting the event, keeping track of attendees, registering? What are those issues users might have with accessing training? Each of these activities involve different forms and processes, making hosting training programs time-consuming to organize and easily missed by most staff. With an intranet, you can consolidate these various tasks into a new training booking tool, which enables organizers to do most of their tasks in one place. Staff can then register online, access the on-demand version, and access related resources at their own convenience. And the great thing about problem statements is that it makes it really easy to create success metrics around them. In this example, I might have a success metric, the number of training programs attended by nurses in aged care homes, and then monitor if this improves over time. So the final technique we will look at is journey maps. A journey map is a visualization of the process that a person goes through in order to accomplish the goal. And journey maps show, employee actions and interactions during different phases, their work environments, including devices they use, and possibilities at each step. And you might look at this and think, okay, it's a bit too complex and I just don't have the resources to work on this. But I really, really encourage you to create this for important milestones and processes, such as the onboarding process, because it does provide a really good holistic view of what employees go through during this important time and how your intranet can actually help them. What you're looking for is, what are employees trying to achieve when they use the intranet? For instance, with an induction portal, you might find that they're not just there to access resources and training. They're there to understand the ins and outs of the business, from the jargon that people use to who the right people are to ask if they have a question around a really particular topic. You're also looking for what are those gaps between devices, channels, and departments? And finally, what are the opportunities to make the internet more efficient and valuable for them? Once you've identified the top actions or processes in the discovery phase, you need to make sure those tasks are easy to perform and remember. Think about all the technology you use every day. It's intuitive, accessible, easy to understand. This is usability, and design plays a huge role here. I've seen quite a few studies on this, and it's estimated that 90% of information is transmitted to the brain visually, which is why visual design can have a profound effect on ease of use. And this means in techniques such as visual hierarchy to help organize your intranet from most to least important, breaking up longer text into shorter sections or blocks, or using different font sizes and contrasting colors to highlight sections. There's so much that visual design encompasses, and I only have so many minutes, so I put up 2 free resources that I recommend that you check out. The first is a UX design course by Coursera, and the second is a graphic design course by Canva. Delving further into functionality and usability, I'd encourage you to look at what I find people have a tendency to gloss over. Please use simple and familiar terms to make it easier for employees to find what they need. Think about what the item or page is really about. For example, is it about help desk support for staff or IT processes for staff? These are 2 very different things that often just get lumped under the IT category. And don't assume that the same icon has the same meaning for different people. Where possible, I'd encourage you to use icons with labels, such as with your homepage quick links. Clear CTAs prompt employees to take the next logical step. No one's wondering what to do or where to go next. For instance, if you want the user to click to read more details about a news article, have a CTA that says read the full story instead of hyperlinking the image used and assuming users know they should click on the image to read more. I'd also recommend you use descriptive textful links to set expectations. So using the term access the webinar as opposed to learn more, especially if you can only include a headline or short sentence. What I see a lot is organizations putting in all this effort into the homepage, and when you explore further, like further beyond the homepage, it's very text heavy and monotonous. Department and section pages really should be treated as mini homepages because they're just gateways to really important content. And they should be laid out to provide a quick overview of what's available in that section. For instance, instead of having an A to Z list of policies and procedures, consider restructuring content into a list of how do I do XYZ items, or you could even just use accordions, which are a list of headers that can be clicked to reveal or hide content associated with that header. And finally, consider using visual tour guides and videos, which can really help first-time users familiarize themselves with the visual and navigational aspect of your intranet, as well as new features you want to introduce and highlight. So that's it from me on internet best practices. I'll pass you over to Josh to chat through the next section.
Thanks, Siv. That was really interesting, helpful, and yeah, I think we've covered off some really great information there around some of the strategic planning. So I wanted to jump into the real tactical and operational features and capabilities for you to deliver a great intranet. And there are many features of a great intranet that you should consider. You'll find that these are the actual features and capabilities that will help deliver on the needs of your users and organization. and those are likely going to come up during those personas you're working on. So hopefully the section I'm going to run through will help show, okay, well, what do I actually need to implement? What are the features to achieve those goals? The first one I'm going to start with is search, and having a record of searchable knowledge has been found to decrease the time workers spend looking for information by 35%, which is a huge saving if you look at your team members, your frontline staff, your office space, your knowledge team members as well. I don't want to talk about search on a high level, as we all know the benefit of search. I want to cover some practical features on the ground level you should be using. And the first one is taxonomy. And those that aren't familiar with taxonomy and what that is, in simple terms, taxonomy is really content classification, where you can tag content based on predefined taxonomy tags or metadata. And good search starts with proper taxonomy. And this will enable you to offer category filtering on your site, which helps users find the information that they're looking for quickly and easily. The next area of search is best bets. And that, for those that aren't familiar with that, that's essentially the ability where you can overrule the weighting of search results in order to show a preset set of results that you think will be most helpful for the user. So for example, a staff member may be searching for annual leave, and they will likely be looking for the annual leave policy or the annual leave online form, for example. And for whatever reason, algorithmically, that may rank a little bit lower, but that best bets lets you jump in and say, look, if they search for annual leave, I want the annual leave policy to show number 1 and the annual leave online form application to show number 2. Something important to remember, a tip over there, is that not all minds think alike. And so you do need to think about things like misspellings, incorrect capitalizations, variations, mistyped searches, and the way people will be using your search. Another key area is federated search. And federated search helps you make your search results more helpful for your users. This feature allows you to incorporate external websites and external content repositories in the search results. For example, one of your team may be searching the intranet for some information, and it will show results from your intranet. But with federated search, you might also be showing results from your public-facing website in your intranet results there to help make it a lot more contextual and relevant for your team member. And the final item around search I wanted to touch on is personalized search. And this is where there are many different ways you can personalize search to different users. One example is where you can configure search in an area to just show documents or only show documents of a specific folder or area because it's a site-specific part of the search over there, personalized and specific around a team or a department or a project, for example. And that can be done through things like security permissions and grouping. Another example of how you can choose what people see and have a much more personalized search experience is an idea of live search. And I've got an example here from a client of ours, Vita Group, and you can see their search bar. And what they do, which is really cool, is those 4 options at the bottom over there, they're essentially showing the top 4 articles that have been viewed by team members over a rolling 14-day period. So if there is something that's interesting, topical, that's been happening, you can jump in there and quickly see what's popular, what are people searching for at the moment. So those are some really important search capabilities. And I will tag on one little point there around reporting. It's really important to run some reporting around the searches. What are people searching for that's successful? And even more important, what are they searching for, but it's actually a failed search result, and you need to create some content around that. The next area is around dynamic content. And dynamic content really enables you to have areas on the intranet where content is always changing and different content is displayed to different users based on rules, permissions, taxonomy. It really helps your intranet be a lot more engaging and a lot more personalized. And taxonomy is actually one of the big drivers of dynamic content. Another big benefit of dynamic content is it lets you create and maintain one widget that you can then display an aggregation of different content and articles and news and documents and events. And you can actually then choose to display it in multiple areas around your site. One of the big benefits of this is it gives you that single source of truth. So you've got this widget that's dynamically showing content. You only manage and update it in one place, but it may be dynamically displaying content across 10 or 20 different sections of the site. If we have a look at this example I've got on the screen here, you can see that there's been a widget that's been set up, and with the taxonomy on the left-hand side, this widget is saying, I'm showing everything tagged as marketing and communications. And on the right-hand side, you can see how the widget is dynamically showing all the information tagged around marketing and communication. So dynamic widgets are really powerful in helping you deliver dynamic content across your intranet and make it a lot more of an engaging intranet to your users. The next section I wanted to jump into is around content management. I don't want to do basic content management. I think we're all very, very familiar with that, but I want to talk around, firstly, document and policy libraries. And I think that's really important where you can create that central document repository and library for your team to find the information that they need. It also makes it easy for you to track what documents are being downloaded, what people are accessing, and obviously having good document management capabilities will let you have functionality such as versioning, version control, as well as workflow for review and approval. I think it's also really important to make sure that your search will index and search not just the page title of a document, but also the text inside the document, because that's going to, again, make that a really relevant experience to users and help you deliver a much better intranet experience. Another really cool feature around content management is this idea of automated content generation to make it really easy from a front end for those non-technical users to be able to create content and information and knowledge, whether it's logging items and tickets or whether it's creating knowledge base items on the intranet. So I've got a great example here where I've got an example here from a client of ours, Star Group, their intranet, and as part of their commitment to safety, they've got an internal incident tracking center where staff can jump in and quickly fill in an incident notification form for any workplace injuries, equipment damage, or any other incidents. And that's going to trigger a whole workflow requesting and review and approval process so that people will actually understand what's going on and they can get the right information to the right users across the organization. It'll actually also automatically create an article or a page around that specific incident that can be searched and filtered and found in the incident library. So it's a great way of using a front-facing form to let that non-technical user jump in and publish content, log an incident, for example, in this scenario, create a ticket, or share some content in the knowledge base. Forms are another huge area, and having easy to create and manage online forms and workflow with drag and drop and point and click goes without saying. I think that's a stock standard these days. That really should be a mandatory requirement, as it really helps you reduce paper, digitize manual processes, and increase efficiency. But I actually want to zone in on a few specific areas around online forms. So the ability to drag and drop forms in a very quick way so non-technical users can create them and update and publish them, so it's not an IT task, is really important. Personalized forms as well. So I think personalized forms are really important in creating a much more dynamic experience with the form, so that as the user starts to fill in a different field or select a different option, the other options in the form are going to dynamically change and dynamically display. So if you've got a long form with lots of fields and sections and panels, they may not all be relevant to the user. So as the user fills them out, the different fields will change and dynamically display. So if you have a look at my example that I've got there on the page, you can see this person's filling out a sick leave form, they've been away, or an absentee or an annual leave form. And on the left-hand side, you can see the fields they're selecting. And on the left-hand side, when they select sick, you'll notice that the bottom left options show the sick leave options where they can upload a doctor's certificate, and there's the ability to upload a file there. Whereas on the right-hand side, if they select carers, there's a bit more information where they can type a bit more of a reason for the leave, but it's not asking for a medical certificate, for example. So that's a great way of getting really relevant contextual information and a much more personalized form experience. I think with forms, it is really important to be able to digitize all those processes you've got in the business and look at how can you very quickly and easy build up and create different forms processes by dragging and dropping the fields and allowing those non-technical users to do it as well. And you're going to find that by digitizing a lot more of these manual processes or paper-based processes or email processes, your team and the organization as a whole are going to be more inclined to want to fill this out because it's much easier than filling out a really big, long paper form, especially if you can pre-populate the fields with information and data that you know because you know their first name and last name and email, so you don't need them to type that in. You can actually pre-populate that for them. When we move forward then to the workflow side of things, I think, again, workflow is one of those stock standards. You really need easy to manage and control workflow. That should be a mandatory requirement. But there's some key workflow requirements I want to talk about. And the one is around automated approvals and making it really easy for content to go through an approval process or forms to go through an approval process, and also making it really easy for people to do that approval, whether it means they can quickly jump into the internet to do that approval, or they can actually reply and approve via email to help speed up that whole approval process. So I think that's really, really important. And also how those notifications get sent. So if something goes into workflow, how do we trigger notifications so that different people know there is something they need to jump in and have a look at? And the other is around creating either simple or complex routing rules, where those workflow paths can actually change dynamically based on the form answers or the profile of someone submitting the form. So, for example, workflows can be skipped, reassigned, passed to another user, moved back, terminated early, based on those different actions. So a really good example is someone fills in something, maybe it's an expense form, and it's over a certain dollar value, so it skips the first 2 baskets and goes straight to the 3rd basket. Or, for example, that based on their seniority, they will skip this basket and go to the manager because it doesn't need the first level of approval. So it's really important to improve your efficiency with better workflow processes. Knowledge management is obviously a huge one as well, and having that single source of truth. And with that shift to hybrid and remote working, and obviously organizations having their distributed and frontline team members, it's really important to have that easy to use and navigate powerful, engaging knowledge base. It's really a non-negotiable requirement these days. We're finding everyone wanting to add these as part of their intranet right now. And when you think about distributed teams, especially those frontline team members, they don't have time to ask their colleagues a question if they're on the production line or they're helping a customer or they're caring for a patient. So a powerful knowledge base is going to make it really easy for them to go to the intranet and quickly find the information they need to provide the best service or customer experience possible. It's also really important to make the knowledge base part of the intranet so that everyone knows that this is where I go and I search, and the information I find is going to be that single source of truth. So it's really important to bring that all together. You can also create knowledge hubs and knowledge bases on various topics where anyone in that specific area of expertise can publish that information, or it could be organization-wide. And you can choose whether it goes through an approval process before it gets published, or it actually can automatically be published there. Not everyone needs the same information and knowledge to do their jobs. It really depends on the type of user, the type of role, maybe level of seniority and what they're doing. So think about that as part of your personas and work out what parts of the knowledge base different users need to get access to. Training and induction is another area we see clients bringing into their intranet so that it's actually part of their overall digital employee experience. And setting up an induction hub is a great way for you to be able to bring in that induction, that onboarding, and that training into the intranet and help reduce the paper and the manual induction process, and also get team members familiar with the intranet and their digital employee experience. You know, an intranet designed with LMS capabilities is going to help you improve the overall employee training. By LMS, I mean learning management system, but the employee training, their access to professional development and training information, and help them browse what other training is available to help me do my job a lot better. And when you think about it, it actually makes sense that from a team perspective, you go to the same place, your intranet, where you get access to the latest professional training and development and reminders to do a certification or renew a course or certificate or complete a course that you started. So by bringing it together, you're going to increase the percentage chance and the likelihood that someone's going to do training and professional development. And another big item over here is events management. So we see event management being a big requirement, whether that's face-to-face events or virtual and digital events, but being able to promote what's going on, whether they're social events or training days or professional development or company launches, whatever it might be, but having a great way for you to promote what's actually going on around the organization. Another really important area to focus on is around social and group pages and project and team workspaces. And really that collaboration space for the team, a project, or a product, or any other group is really important. It helps everyone collaborate, see what's going on across different locations, teams, and departments, and also helps sometimes those frontline staff and volunteers who maybe aren't in the center of it all every single day know what's going on and getting a heads up about what's actually happening around the organization. These can also be full of a range of information, such as things like FAQs and supporting documents and forms and training schedules and a whole bunch of other information. You can also add other things like social Q&A, where users can jump in and ask questions and others can answer questions, so you really help build that knowledge base. Or even those social posts where team members can jump in, post updates, and get feedback from others as well. There's a couple other key features I do want to mention. I'm not going to delve into them too deeply, but there are a few I do want to put on everyone's radar. And one is the staff directory, where you can jump in and search and filter and browse the staff directory, and obviously look at how that integrates to something like an Active Directory or an Azure AD to populate the results. And piggyback off that is organization charts, and how does it build that org chart so you can find the who's who in the organization. Another big area we're seeing is rewards and recognition programs, so that team members can really feel valued in dedicating time to recognizing others and their contribution, whether it's in a real informal way or it's in a very formal way that goes through a formal rewards and acknowledgement program across the organization. And then there are some less traditional features that we do see that I think are always good to think about and consider, whether it's a community notice board, internal job postings, aggregating external news and bringing them through, or extending the intranet to be a portal for other types of users, whether that's board members or volunteers. So those are some of the key features to think about. How do we actually deliver this on the ground level to help deliver a much better intranet and digital employee experience? I now want to focus on a really important area, which is how to tailor your intranet to each employee's needs. And really no surprises here. The first step is to know the audience, and Siv's touched on that and spoken about how you can do that, because that's going to help you understand how do you personalize the information to different users. And then the next step is to work out how you implement features and functionality that can be dynamically personalized to your audience. So obviously we've got an idea, and we're assuming you know a bit about your audience, so you can define those different personas and who they are and how you group them together in teams, departments, projects, locations, whatever it might be, so that you know what you want to be able to deliver to those different types of users. When we think about what that actually looks like, you can then look at a great example, and we've got a client of ours, they're in a facility services organization, and they've got head office staff as well as supervisors and frontline staff. And historically, they'd send emails out to site supervisors and hope the site supervisors would communicate with their frontline staff. But now what they're able to do is to deliver a much more personalized experience. So if you log in, head office versus frontline versus the supervisors can all see different information that's dynamically displayed for them based on their type of persona, the type of user they are. And from a management and head office perspective, they can report on who's been able to access which policies and procedures and which information. The other thing which is great is by adding multilingual capabilities, different team members can then have that content doing some multilingual translation, so they can actually read the information in their language, and you can feel comfortable that you've added a range of different options there, and people are seeing information in a language they understand, and they're actually getting the details they need. There are many ways to look at the personalization, and so you can look at personalization via security and user group permissions or user preferences. And a good intranet will let you personalize the experience and tailor the communications to different groups. At Elcom, we have this idea of top-down and bottom-up personalization. Top-down is where you personalize content based on what you know about a person, such as their team, department, or their location. Bottom-up is where a user can set their preferences and have their experience personalized based on this selection. So personalization, it really means providing a group of employees and team members with updates and information, documents, policies, procedures that are tailored and relevant to their role, their region, their department, and that's going to help it resonate with them. It's going to help them feel valued and important, and actually that you're listening to what's going to make their life a lot better and a lot easier. And I think there's a good example is when someone jumps in to the intranet, you might have certain information about their team or their department, and that's something they should see on the homepage, because it's going to draw them into the intranet. It's going to make them realize this is really useful for me. This is going to help me on a day-to-day basis. I'm going to keep coming back here, and it helps create a much more engaging experience where people keep coming back to the intranet. It's not the sort of scenario where you have to force them to go to the intranet there. So I think it's really important about that top-down and bottom-up personalization and delivering a much better personalized experience to your team members to help drive a better digital employee experience. I'm now going to hand over to Siv to talk about where you need to start to get it right. Siv, over to you.
Thanks, Josh. So where do you need to start to get it right? There are 3 key action points I would recommend. First, regardless of whether you're redesigning an existing intranet or introducing a new intranet, planning is key to success. So I have 3 resources that I would recommend if you're getting started. First, HubSpot Marketing Platform have a persona tool to help you jot down the information you need to create personas for your own organization. Secondly, Elcom's 6-step guide to writing a compelling business case. This will help you gather the right resources and put together a business case to get buy-in from all your stakeholders. And finally, Elcom's Intranet Planning Guide. As the name suggests, this comprehensive guide will equip you with best practices and insights to properly plan, deploy, and launch your intranet. Secondly, make sure to audit and test your intranet on an ongoing basis. And what I don't see enough of is organizations performing usability tests with new employees. These are the staff members who aren't familiar with company jargon or know where to find information, so they're in the best position to tell you if your intranet is truly user friendly. Also, make sure you conduct usability tests with day-to-day users, especially field employees, and not just, with their managers or head office staff. And do this on the device they most commonly use. The usability test should be set up in a way that is as close to the normal context as possible. These tests include having them go through common use cases for the intranet. I want you to really pay attention to how easy it was for them to perform like a particular task, what areas they went to first, any workarounds they used, how quickly they performed the tasks, and whether common errors were navigated or eliminated. Beyond usability tests, you should also audit your website against success metrics. So think about who's accessing it, how much time are they spending on it, what content is being consumed, and make sure you monitor trends over time. So I've included 2 resources you can refer to: Elcom's Measuring and Improving Intranet Success, as well as Recognizing Intranet ROI Guides, and these will provide you with a much more comprehensive overview on these subjects. And finally, once you've completed your audit, you should look at tweaking and improving your intranet. You can start with small tweaks. For example, you could analyze search patterns to identify any potential areas of improvements. And if you see a pattern of misspelling, for instance, you can add it to the thesaurus so the desired results are displayed instead of displaying no results. Or you could analyze your most popular pages and embed a promo box promoting another area of the intranet you want them to explore, or an event or news item you want them to read. Remember, you want to build a system that helps people get their job done, and when it's sticky, you can encourage them to explore further to build an engaged culture on your intranet. What's important to remember is that you want to solve real problems rather than just improving features, so staff need to use the intranet. And on this note, a lot of organizations use forms and workflows for simple processes such as letting staff submit expense claims or annual leave. But if you shift your mindset to how can I make this feature imperative to their day-to-day, it becomes a lot more valuable. So in this example, and we do have a full case study on our website if anyone's interested, Northcott, a leading disability services provider, extended the functionality of forms and workflows to solve quite a complex need in their organization. As a result of the acquisition of 100 accommodation services, they needed to efficiently manage the quoting process to request funds from NDIA for their supported independent living customers. And what happens is, once a form is submitted, it triggers workflow paths depending on the criteria specified, with different staff members being notified to action an item, such as supplying or checking information. They can then approve it to move it along the workflow, or they can reject it, which either moves it back to the previous person or onto a completely different path. And touch points include everyone from the assigned contact who's responsible for overseeing the process, the house lead, financial reviewer, senior manager, etc. There are a lot of people who can be involved in this process. And once it's been approved, it gets sent to the NDIA. The best part about this process is that administrators can easily monitor all forms submitted and see where each form is in this workflow. And it provides governance that, the right people are approving it at different points along the way. As you can see, by automating this very important process, Northcott has managed to design a really valuable intranet. And now I'm sure this is the moment you've all been waiting for. I'll pass you back to Josh to chat through an award-winning intranet design.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Siv. And before we jump into mentioning our bonus offer and jump into the Q&A session, I do want to run through an example of an award-winning intranet design. So really excited to walk you through this one. This is Greater Bank, and they're an Australian customer-owned bank and mutual finance institution, and they were awarded Silver in the Intranet Essentials category at the Step 2 Intranet and Digital Workplace Awards in 2021, which is an awesome achievement as they are global awards and they're very competitive and they get hundreds and hundreds of entries globally. So a really awesome achievement by the team at Greater Bank. The Greater Bank Intranet is built on the Elcom Digital Employee Experience platform, and the Intranet features interactive social functionality, an engaging homepage for news content, sophisticated search, and a navigation architecture that supports the way their team work. They also established solid content processes, ensuring that they've got good user-centric design, including creating detailed personas and narratives. They've got guiding principles and accountabilities and responsibilities that they've workshopped and documented, and they've also established a sustainable authoring and publishing model. So you can see the design there on mobile, tablet, and desktop there and how that flows across. I'm not going to go through all the different features and functionality. I think they're a great example of doing everything we've discussed today, but there are a few key things I want to talk about. And the one is really how they've carried their branding throughout the intranet, including their error page. And I think that's really important because, you know, having your branding and a persona for the intranet, they call it EVI, that branding and personality can be infused with energy and have that really positive experience across everything an employee does. And obviously the intranet's where they spend a lot of their time. And this positive experience is really going to translate to a positive customer experience. And so even something as simple as this, branding and error page, is really just trying to have a very exciting, more engaging, personalized experience there and having a little bit of fun at the same time. The impact of EVI, which is the name of their intranet, to the business and on the employee experience has been significant. Now, because of the type of organization they are, not every employee accesses the intranet in their specific role because of how they're actually set, but about 94% are active users, which is very high engagement and a very high utilization rate when you look at, you know, industry averages there. And a key reason for that is it's a necessary support tool. So EVI it's a really valuable tool and reference point, particularly for those frontline team members who serve customers in branches, and for all employee and team members staying up to date with user information. And there's a really great case study on our website, and I would encourage you to jump on our website and download and check out the case study there. And this sort of flows through everything they've done around the menu structures, the hierarchy, how they've categorized content, and obviously the search as well. And another great point here is that by clicking the toolbar, team members can go access relevant information and most commonly used apps, favorite links, pages they've personally saved or my favorites, and obviously popular pages around the intranet. It really is a key tool to connect and support their team for everything. And obviously it's been really important around COVID-19 and people working remotely or working from home. The social collaboration tools have also been really important to help share knowledge and information across the branches. And it really has become that go-to place across the business for everything you're trying to do. So they've really utilized the different modules, features, and functionality in Elcom to deliver a much better employee experience there, which they know leads to a better customer experience. And, you know, as an example, their social feed is really busy, and it's not always, you know, a corporate post, you could say. There's a lot of social information there, people, you know, recommending each other or recognizing each other for great work they've done, or talking about some of the volunteering experiences or their awards or thank yous or how they support the community. And it's really highly engaged. Over 80% of their team members go to it very, very frequently. So I think that's a really great way of how they've used different features and functionality in Elcom to deliver a fantastic employee experience. And obviously I won a silver award there, which was a global award. So it's great recognition of what they've achieved and what they've delivered to their organization. As I mentioned, if you do want to find out more about what they've done in the case study there, jump to our website and you can download the case study. It's a really interesting, useful case study. Before we jump into Q&A, we do have a bonus offer for everyone attending the webinar today. You do get a free 30-minute intranet consultation. So you can drop me an email there, but in the follow-up email we're going to send you, there will be a link where you can book that in. So it'd be fantastic for you to jump in, book in that. We're happy to have a conversation about that. Given the huge attendance today and the interest, definitely when you get that, I'd recommend you book in as soon as possible. And if none of those times line up or work for you, please let me know and we can arrange a time that works for you. There's been some great questions. Keep posting those questions in the Q&A chat over there. We've got a couple minutes, so Siv, I'll hand over to you. We've got time for a couple questions. So Siv, over to you.
Alrighty, thanks guys for all the questions you submitted. Just to let you know, if we don't get through them all today, we will be following up with you individually. So you will get your answer, I promise. The first question is, do we need a launch with all the features you mentioned today? Because, well, there are quite a few.
Yeah, so it's a good question to ask there. And, the answer to that is no, not at all. You can definitely start with a few, and then you can always look to add on and grow as your organization evolves. And as you as an organization work out what else you're trying to do and what you need. So a really good example is, with Elcom, it's very modular and you can always add on additional modules, features, and functionality later on. So yeah, you definitely don't have to launch with everything right now. Definitely start smaller, more basic, and grow and evolve. And, it's a living, breathing solution. So it's not a set and forget. So it's always going to be evolving and changing.
Definitely agree. Most of our clients have a staggered phased approach to launching where they'll introduce those new features and processes, gather feedback, tweak it, introduce another feature, etc. So it really ensures that they build just a valuable, resource for their staff. Second question, how detailed do I have to make personas?
Yeah, that's a really good one. And look, they don't need to be that detailed at all. Most organizations don't have the bandwidth, the time, the experience, the capabilities to make them very detailed, or sometimes even do them just where they are. So, I really wouldn't worry about that too much in trying to make them really detailed. I think if you cover off some of the real key points that Siv had mentioned, just quickly, what do users want to achieve? What information are they trying to access? What do they want to get frequently or not that frequently? How are they going to access it? Some of those real basic questions, and you don't have to make it a beautiful diagram or anything. Just have them bullet points and jot it down. That's more than enough to help you get started really successfully. So don't worry about trying to create something, really sophisticated over there. I think one of those things is I wouldn't hold back trying to get started because you think I've got to get the personas right before I get going. If you just don't know what personas are or how best to do it. Again, we saw those results before where a significant number of people actually said they wanted to look at a new intranet yesterday. We're in 1 to 6 months, but a lot was saying yesterday. So again, I wouldn't hold yourself back. I think, think about the few key things there. It is living and breathing and evolving always. So it's not like you implement something and it's set in stone and it's stuck. So if you don't have that ready at the beginning, it's not going to delay you commencing. You can always look at tweaking and adapting, because at the end of the day, you want to get that real live feedback as well. So you do want to be up and running and get that user feedback once you've launched, and then look at how you tweak and adapt it.
Agreed. And, this will come from the interviews and research you've already done. You really just need to piece together the information using the persona templates that we've recommended. Next question. Does it matter how many users we have?
No, it definitely doesn't matter how many users you have. We find that all organizations of different sizes can benefit from a better intranet and a better digital employee experience. It's really less about the number of people, and I'd say it's more about how you can improve, their experience and their engagement and employee retention and communication across your team. So it really doesn't matter if it's a team of, 20, 30, 40 people, 100 people, 200, 300, 500, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, 10,000 plus. It really is not about the number of people. It's about how you can actually improve the employee experience. And that's actually one of the big reasons why Elcom has an unlimited user licensing model, so that you can have as many team members accessing the intranet, and you don't have to worry about the cost per user as you as an organization grow, or if you bring your frontline team members on board and they get access to it, or you've got casual team members or volunteers or whatever it might be. So yeah, it definitely doesn't matter the number of people. And one of the big reasons, we've got the unlimited user licensing model for the intranet there, so that you can get everyone on board, engaged, and communicating with them.
Great answer. Next question. Now, I like this question. Can Elcom design our new intranet?
That is a good question. I'll add that question as well. Yeah, we definitely can. So yeah, I mentioned a bit about Elcom at the beginning there in terms of the way you can use the Elcom platform and the solutions. And you know, at Elcom we do offer end-to-end services, so we can offer everything from requirements analysis, UX and design, implementation, integration, testing, training, project management. We've got an awesome account management and support team as well. So we can actually be a partner and work with you end to end from that perspective. So yeah, we can definitely help on that design there. At the same time, if you've got a design in mind and you want to bring that to the table, we're more than happy to work with that as well and help, you know, provide some best practice feedback there. I think, Sue, we've probably got time for one more question.
Yeah, I think we're definitely running over time, so I'll squeeze in this last question. Is forms and workflows something Elcom offers as part of your main product?
So that is a great question. I know we ran through that earlier as a feature. It is definitely part of the standard Elcom Digital Employee Experience base platform. So our base platform, it's an out-of-the-box feature that we've got as part of the Intranet you'll be rolling out. And the reason it's part of the base platform is we feel that it's really important for you to be able to quickly and easily create online forms and workflow processes to improve that organization efficiency and reduce your paper and help just make everyone more efficient and a better employee experience there. So it is part of the base platform there. One of the really cool features, I personally love what we do in the forms and workflow space, and it's very heavily used by all different organizations in so many different ways. So yeah, the answer to that question is yes, it is part of the base Elcom platform there. I think that probably wraps it up. I know there's a lot of other questions that have come through. So for those we haven't been able to answer right now, we will get back to you individually and answer your questions. Please look out for the follow-up email. We do have the free 30-minute Intranet consultation we're offering, so please jump in and book that. There'll be a link for you to book that, or get in touch with me directly and we can arrange a time. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us for this Intranet Design Best Practice webinar. We hope you found it really useful and helpful in your journey moving forward, and please reach out to us if you're looking at updating your Intranet or changing your Intranet or redesigning your Intranet or improving it for the next 3, 6, 12, 24 months ahead. We'd love to see how we can partner with you. So thank you very much, Siv, for joining today on the webinar. Thank you, everyone, for attending. And on behalf of the Elcom team, thank you, and we look forward to speaking to you soon.
Thanks so much, guys.